We just had an election here, November 8th, which was run like they run elections in banana republics. And this is why I'm going to be contesting the election. As you saw earlier this week, some of the, I call them clowns running our circus of elections, actually certified the election. My opponent, Katie Hobbs, who should have recused herself but oversaw the election in a very shady and shoddy way, actually certified the election. And a lot of America First patriots were saying, Kari, what are you doing? Why aren't you contesting this? What's wrong?
Well, I hope you enjoyed your vacation, because filter fanatic Kari Lake is back, and she's still not done crying about her loss in last month's election. Lake is once again threatening to file a lawsuit challenging the results in Arizona, even though her entire legal team has already moved on to less crazy employment.
So this sham election had to be certified for us to begin contesting it, and we will be contesting it. We're going to be filing our lawsuit on Friday, and I'll be filling you in more later on in this program about the lawsuit and what's coming up. So we'll be having a little bit more on that. But many of you know my story that I worked for nearly 30 years in the news, in the news business as a journalist, a broadcast journalist. I stepped away, walked away from my career, really in disgust with how news had become just pure propaganda. And I wasn't willing to lend my voice, my heart, my mind to that kind of work anymore.
That's right. Kari Lake just said she left her job as a news anchor because she was done peddling political propaganda, immediately after saying the Arizona election was stolen by a shady cabal of Democrats. Apparently, nobody told Lake that the election laws she's complaining about were passed by a Republican legislature and signed into law by a Republican governor. That's probably something a news anchor should know. Though I do believe a lot of people have probably asked Kari Lake what's wrong with her. As of today, nearly every single election-denying Republican has either conceded or, at the very least, had the sense not to claim their election was stolen. But not Kari. She's done with Republicans who keep telling her she's nuts. Now she's turning to God.
People can, for starters, pray. We really need God in this world. We need God in our hearts, in our homes, and in our country. And I know God's making a big comeback in this country. I feel it. I talk to people who say, I started to return to church. I brought God back into our families' lives. It's so important right now. We're due for a couple of miracles, I think. But I also believe we have, on top of that, we have a really good court case, and we're going to open people's eyes to what went wrong.
Can I just pause for a second here and point out how hilarious the phrase God's making a real comeback is? No, Kari. Bruce Springsteen is making a real comeback. God is doing fine. Though Kari Lake is absolutely right that she's going to need more than a few miracles to convince a judge that her paranoid conspiracies are even worth a second of the court's time. But don't worry, Crazy Kari has a plan.
Because we have such an amazing movement. And then I think about what God, our Father is doing. Imagine if your dad said to you, I have such great hope for you, and I believe in you so much that I'm going to put you in charge of something difficult. And that's what he's saying to us. He's saying, I've put you all here for these difficult times because I have such faith in you. I know how strong you are.
You heard that right. God put Kari Lake here specifically to contest the Arizona election. Her governorship is the will of the Lord, and she's not going to let something as stupid as losing an election stop her from assuming power. Does that sound like any former president you recently heard calling on Republicans to cancel the Constitution? It's no mistake that Kari Lake's first stop after her loss was Mar-a-Lago. There, she sat down with Donald Trump to make her pitch to serve as his 2024 vice presidential pick. Lake knows her career in Arizona is toast, even if she won't admit it yet. Her only hope is riding Donald Trump's extra-large coattails into the White House, and she's willing to say anything to get there. Like this.
A massive voter fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. I agree with them on that. Can you imagine our founding fathers, what they went through to help bring about this great nation? Seeing what happened in 2020, really seeing what's happening now in 2022.
Yep, she's really going to do this. Hold on tight.
I guess it didn't go our way, and I guess they cheated. We know they rigged the elections, and they put in a bumbling fool who doesn't even have the mental capacity to run this country. Okay, just get over it. We'll just let the loser take the White House. I don't think that would happen. President Trump is saying we are in unprecedented times and unprecedented measures are necessary. That is what he is saying.
Unprecedented measures is definitely one way to describe invalidating the Constitution and letting Donald Trump seize power by force. But I'm not sure that's the phrase our founding fathers would use. In fact, our founders already had a word for people they thought were above the law. They called them tyrants, and Kari Lake is more than happy to be the mouthpiece of Trumpian tyranny. Like many people, I love making fun of kooky Kari Lake, but there's nothing funny about what Lake and other Trump cronies are doing. The same party that says it's tyranny to propose changing the Constitution to put in gun laws now has no problem throwing out the entire Constitution and forcing their authoritarian will on the country. How's that for a double standard? And Donald Trump is loving every minute of the madness he's created. In fact, Trump recently threw a party at Mar-a-Lago that featured a prominent QAnon and Pizzagate conspiracy theorist who, among other things, supported Trump's call to terminate the Constitution. Trump knows these people will do anything, including committing acts of violence, to make him president again, and he is happy to fire them up. Kari Lake's bogus lawsuit will immediately be thrown out, if she ever gets around to filing it at all. But that won't stop Lake, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a host of other ambitious Trump goons from trying to undermine our elections. And while some Republicans have expressed concerns about Trump's remarks, they're both too few and too quiet for comfort. Kari Lake is doing her best to get Republicans warmed up to the idea of suspending the Constitution. She would grant illegal authority to the GOP not just to put Trump back in power, but to enact whatever nightmares MAGA believes are in the interest of national security that day. She's dangerous, and the time for laughter is over. If you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. And leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.